What's up, everybody? We are back. It's been a couple of weeks.
Ages.
We actually had recording video as a backup, but as I reviewed the video, the audio that we recorded in the car just wasn't worth a damn to
Too much car noise.
to salvage. My wife and I and our son Carson were on vacation and had intentions to record a lot, but things just kind of happened. And towards the end of vacation, my wife, as you all know, has stage 4 ovarian cancer. She had some complications, and we ended up in Flagstaff, Arizona hospital for 5 days. Jessica and I will do a video on that explaining what went wrong and all that good stuff. So that kind of put a delay on a little bit. But we're back.
Yep.
We are back, and today I want to discuss with Derek. I haven't told him anything about it yet, but on our vacation we did go to the gate of Area 51 outside of Las Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a awesome. I haven't showed you in the footage yet, have I?
Not footage. I've seen
Okay.
a couple still pictures.
So the footage, there's not much
Yeah.
because there's signs of saying no video
recording,
photography.
yeah.
Yes, and I didn't want to press my luck.
Yeah.
So I did have my GoPro and I kind of held it down a little bit, and there was another guy that showed up in a Jeep, and I was talking to him, and I'll include that in there. He knows what we were doing, so I'm assuming I have permission. But anyways, so the drive to Area 51, I've seen footage of people going there, but to actually do it in person, it's a lot different. It is in the middle of nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
Shortly after you leave Vegas into the mountains, you lose cell phone reception. So you have no reception. The only radio station we were able to pick up was an AM station, and it was a guy ranting and raving about politics.
Fantastic.
That was our entertainment.
Now, can you imagine going out there at night?
Oh, jeez.
And hearing some weird talk radio in the middle of the night? That's all you pick up?
I wish there was more of a better talk show in that area.
Yeah.
But so Vegas, I've been many times. I have family there. I grew up going there. But the way that we went to Area 51, it's like literally the town just stops.
Yeah.
There's houses and business. It just stops, and it's just desert. It's like a perfect line, just stops. And you get out there, and there is not a whole lot. There was a couple of wildlife preservation places where people can camp, but there's nothing. No cell phone reception, so no music, you have to rely on whoever you're with for entertainment.
Yeah.
Carson slept most of the way, so it wasn't a bad trip for him.
Yeah.
So we drove you're driving, and I don't remember the numbers of the highways. I GPS the town of Rachel is the nearest town from the gate. And we got to the first little souvenir alien shop. We've seen videos of it, but our expectations of the two different shops were higher than what they were.
Yeah,
I mean, they're kind of literally a trailer and wasn't as entertaining as one would think.
Yeah.
So we come to the first one, which is at a T in the road, and where the T is this way is the extraterrestrial highway.
Mm-hmm.
We do have our QR code stickers that I left everywhere out there.
That's awesome.
Scan them. We did gain, since I've dropped some of them, 2 followers. I don't know, or subscribers. I don't know if it's from them or not.
That's awesome.
But so you're heading down the extraterrestrial highway, and you're going through mountains. There's a lot of curves and elevation rises, and then finally you get to the town of Rachel, and I want to say it's about 2 hours from Vegas, give or take.
Yeah.
There's really not very many people on the road once you go to the extraterrestrial. That other road, there was a lot of trucks and people coming and going. But the extraterrestrial, we only saw a handful of people.
Yeah.
you dip down this valley, and as far as you can see the road. You could just go forever. And speed limit's probably optional out there. It was for me.
Yeah.
You get to the town of Rachel, and it really consists of just a few buildings. I mean, there's not much out there. You go, we went inside their little gift shop, and you can't record in there.
Right.
I got told you're not allowed to record in there, so I had to cut
In the
that.
gift shop?
Inside the gift shop. You can record all on the outside, all you want. Inside, you're not allowed to.
A lot of top secret stuff in there.
There has to be.
Yeah.
There's
high security clearance in there.
in this, yeah. So when we walk up, Jessica stayed in the car when we went in there, and so Carson and I got out, and there's a picnic bench with, I don't know, 5 or 6 older people, and the first thing you come to when you get out of the car is this big whiff of weed. Just strong marijuana odor.
Yeah.
Which I don't have a problem with. And so I was just like, okay, we're just sitting around talking it up here in alien country. And
yeah.
so we went inside, and they have a gift shop. They have where you can buy like sandwiches and stuff. They have a full fucking bar.
Yeah.
And then above the bar has all these $1 bills hanging. And that's what I was filming. And I'll put the clip in here at the end, and if you hear say, oh, you can't record in here, I'm like, oh shit, okay, sorry. The gift shop itself, I guess we just pictured something different, but it is in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
So I asked the bartender, cashier, or whatever she was, like, how far, where do I go from here? She goes, go back where we came from, and it's not the first dirt road, but the second dirt road. Turn down it. There's no signs or anything. And it's maybe a mile from there, in the direction that you came from.
Yeah.
So we turned down this dirt road, and the dirt road, I will say, is a pretty good dirt road. I mean, we went about 45 miles an hour on it with no problem.
Yeah.
And that dirt road, I've heard it's 8 miles, I've heard it's 10 miles. It's very much between 8 and 10 miles down this dirt road.
Yeah.
And it seems like you're driving forever. And you would think you can see the gate in the distance, but you really can't until you kind of turn a corner. And before you get to the gate, it turns back to asphalt.
Yeah.
Which I didn't know. Once you turn to asphalt, it turns to asphalt before you can really see the gate. And I'm thinking, crap, I've always known it'd be dirt road. So if you ever go and you hit asphalt, just keep going. You're in the right area. We noticed a Jeep following us, coming up on us, and didn't worry about it. We know other people come and go, and we get there. So I'm on the clip that I'll show all the clips that I have, which is but a few minutes of it. I recorded through our dirty ass windshield.
Mm-hmm.
Coming up to the gate. We parked on the side of the road, and Carson and I got out, looking around, just like, man, we're really here.
Yeah.
And then this guy in a Jeep pulls up, and he gets out. And I want to say he said he's from Alaska, and I could be wrong. It should tell in the video. But he's talking to me about, like, oh yeah, they have the authority to shoot you dead, and kind of over the top. And I was like, oh yeah, I've heard that. Just kind of going with it. We did get to see a camo dude.
Mm-hmm.
That was cool.
Cool.
This guy had come out of a building and jumped in the truck and spun it around. I don't think I got it on film, because once I saw him, I kind of really held the camera down.
Is the building near the gate?
So there's a couple of buildings there. There's one near the gate, and there's one kind of off in the distance, and that's where the camo dude had come in. It's the classic white trucks,
the white SUVs that you hear about. Okay.
Yes. He gets in it, spins it around, kind of facing us, and then I turned. Like I said, I don't want to press the boundaries,
right.
And the fine for crossing it is pretty damn steep.
Yeah.
So I kind of filmed along the gate and filmed the sign saying no recording and this and that. And I know there's been many YouTubers out there that has recorded it with no what am I looking for? Didn't care.
Yeah.
Didn't care if they got caught or not.
Yeah.
After the vacation we had and everything going on, the last thing I needed is to have to deal with these guys face to face. And
well, and there are people that go to places like that just to push their luck too.
Right.
To say that they did and say that they could, and
that's
I think you're like me. Just being there is huge.
Right.
I mean, you don't need to go crossing the line because you're at this place.
Right. And there are some cases in life where I will cross the line.
Yeah.
Area 51, a government top secret site, is not one of them.
Yeah, and they are. I mean, if you're trespassing, they are authorized to shoot. Now, every story I've ever heard of people getting caught trespassing out there, they're intimidated, they're fined, they're interrogated, all that good stuff. I've never heard of anyone being shot and killed out there.
Right.
But they do have signs.
It's military.
Yeah.
It's just like crossing the fence of the White House. You have a good potential of getting shot if they want to shoot you.
Yeah.
But it was so awesome to be there. And we didn't spend too long, maybe 30 minutes. You don't want to wear your welcome out and really draw attention to yourself. And we just wanted to be one of those people where they're just like, oh, just another dumbass tourist.
Yeah,
you
right.
know.
Yeah.
That other guy was, you'll see the clip, just like they're going to shoot you. And it's like, he's kind of hyping it up like Hollywood. But we ended up leaving before he officially left, but then we pulled over
before
on the side
he jumped the gate and started
running.
running.
It's like, don't want to pursue
We're not
this.
with him.
Yeah, this guy's not with us. But it was super cool being there. Like I said, it's in the middle of nowhere, and you're kind of in a big ass valley.
Yeah.
There's mountains all around. Of course, the mountains are blocking to see anything. I mean, other than the gate, there's nothing to see. But the property, the gate ends and the barbed wire ends so far.
Yeah.
I mean, you can easily walk around and head in there if you wanted to. There's really nothing keeping you out. Which was surprising. Yeah, and I thought maybe like a cattle barbed wire fence would go to an extent of amount out, and it really wasn't. I mean, it'd be like walking around my house to get in.
Yeah.
You go to the front door and just walk around the side to get in.
Yeah.
So it was a lot of barbed wire and a lot of stuff for that gate, which seems unnecessary.
Yeah.
I think it's more for intimidation than anything. The gate, you have a gate that comes up and down, and then I guess where you pull your car in, there's another gate there, and then it'll raise up to let you in.
Yeah.
But all the windows on the buildings are highly tinted, so you can't see inside, which I was hoping to see a little bit.
Yeah.
You got a couple satellites and antennas and stuff like that. And
it's cool. It sounds cool. Yeah.
I don't know. I personally don't know anybody that's ever been.
Yeah.
Especially for Carson.
I don't either before you went. I didn't know anybody that had been, but
Carson, I told him, it's like, I guarantee none of your friends will ever be at Area 51. But it was cool.
Yeah.
It was cool as hell. We were hoping to see some planes, some jets and stuff flying above, but we didn't that day. I've seen videos of where they can see their activity up there, but we didn't have any activity that day.
Yeah.
I did at the gate, took a small risk and got a cup full of the dirt and a couple asphalt chunks that were there.
Cool.
So if you want some Area 51 dirt, I got you some.
Area 51 dirt.
Hell yes.
Awesome.
I collect weird stuff like that.
Yeah.
I do. I have jars of dirt around this room of a variety of places and things.
Yeah. That's all right. When you get a little bit older, you'll keep jars of your fingernail clippings and hair clippings.
Oh, dude. Jessica and I saw a show of people that collect weird things, and this guy does collect for 40 years his fingernail clippings.
Yeah. Well, Howard Hughes, when he was getting older and even more eccentric, he started. I think he didn't cut his hair or his fingernails, I think, but I mean, it's like there's stories of him possibly jars of urine or something. I don't know.
Jeez.
But he got real eccentric and weird.
No, that's No, I have some weird stuff in this room.
Yeah.
Carson, when we were in California, he wanted to do a lot of the Fast and Furious stuff.
Yeah.
And our first stop coming into town was to go see where Paul Walker died in that crash. And, that tree that he hit went right through the car, and there's a stump there.
Yeah.
And the stump's rotting out, so I did take a piece of the actual death tree of Paul Walker.
Yeah.
So that'll come up on the shelf. And normally I don't destroy things to...
Yeah.
I don't go in these houses and steal something, but it's a rotting tree stump. I don't see...
Yeah.
And everything else that people left, we left alone, but...
Yeah, sure.
I had to get a piece of that rotted ass
Yeah.
death tree.
Yeah.
So... Area 51, man, I remember as a kid thinking, for one, I thought it was older than what it was. Doing research on it, they started it, I think, in 1955, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it's the 50s.
And it's the United States...
That's the official story.
Right. It's the United States Air Force base. And I read a story about the guy that they were looking for a spot, and they're flying over, and that's where they saw like the salt flat.
Yep.
They said he compared it as being as smooth as a pool table, and it being perfect for takeoff and landing of it. The alien stuff, man, I just don't know. I do believe that, and I'm sure it's been confirmed somewhere. I know there's people out there that's done way more research on it than I have, but I know they test new aircraft out there, and I know a lot of our aircraft has been born in that area.
Yeah.
The secrecy of it, I know the Las Vegas airport, there's a section where the planes are all unmarked, buses are all unmarked, and they said they fly from...
Is that McLaren? I think it's McLaren Airport.
I'm not sure.
Vegas. Yeah, it's called Janet Airlines.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where the employees of Area 51 are flown from Vegas. And they fly into and board, from what I've heard, buses with tinted out windows.
Right.
And they can barely see out too, and then they're taken to the facility where they work, and then some of them stay there.
See, I've heard they stay. Some of them
have like a long-term stay while they work. Some of them commute more frequently, but they're shuttled back and forth and then flown into Vegas.
I read just this morning a little bit, and they're back, and I'm assuming it's like back in the 50s, 60s. They used to fly the workers in and out to Burbank, California.
Yes.
And they would fly them on Monday, they would stay all week, and they would fly them back Friday evening so they can spend the weekend with their families.
Actually, and I didn't know this until I was living in Burbank, but prior to Area 51 being established and used, the Burbank Airport had, from what I heard, I think I heard they had some kind of an underground facility there. Where the military did research and they worked out of Burbank Airport. And then, of course, you got to wonder if it was out of necessity for the time and the post-war worries. But they eventually needed a much larger facility. And like you said, that area where Area 51 is, there's a spot called Groom Lake.
Yes,
which is what the facility was kind of built around, from what I heard, and it's one of those dried lake bed salt flats, and perfect for an airstrip and for aircraft to take off and land. So they're like, okay, we can work on some experimental craft here. There's since it was built, it's been expanded multiple times over the years. They keep kind of buying up different ranch land around it. In fact, I think the military owns more land than they've actually expanded to. They keep a buffer. out of their property. But there are actually several facilities that are part of Area 51, and they all have these different code names, and that whole region too is because it's so isolated and deserted. There's nuclear weapons testing and chemical weapons testing, and there's different sections for that, and that's been going on since before the 50s. So yeah, it's not surprising they find an ideal isolated location and then do anything and everything they can out there.
I wonder, because it's only about 2 hours from Vegas, 2.5 hours, somewhere around that realm. I wonder when they first built it up, Vegas back then was nothing. I mean, absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
I wonder how they feel about it being as huge as it is now, if they're just like, oh shit, do we need to go further inland?
It's kind of an appropriate metaphor, I think, because I mean, what better way to develop and work things in secrecy than to have a big shiny distraction nearby?
That's true. That is true.
For other people.
That is true.
I guarantee you, almost nobody in Vegas is worried about what's going on.
No.
They're there for Vegas.
Well, like I said, I grew up going to Vegas. I've been to Vegas many times. Jessica and I have driven out there many times.
Yeah.
And some of the gift shops, you see stuff at Area 51. But up until a few years ago, I didn't really realize how close Area 51 was to Vegas.
Yeah.
And wondered why the hell have we never been there before. And going to Area 51 was all Carson's idea.
Yeah.
We, a couple years ago, we toured New Mexico. And our first stop in New Mexico was Roswell.
Uh-huh.
And you go through all the alien stuff in the museum, and Carson really got into it.
Yeah.
And so when we asked him, where you want to go on vacation this time, Area 51 was on the list.
Yeah.
Thankfully he wanted to go to California and Vegas too. I'm not going to drive. I wouldn't drive all the way there just for that.
Yeah.
At all. Like there'd have to be other stops to want to do. But yeah, it's a network.
Yeah.
It's an interesting network, and I think what's the most people's curiosity is it is unknown.
Yeah.
Carson recently looked up on Google Maps or Google Earth or one of them where Area 51 is, and it shows they have a baseball field on there.
Yeah.
And
if you have any facility where you have people staying to work, they've got to play too.
Right.
You got to keep your workers happy.
I thought that's cool.
Yeah.
Out there, Area 51, this top secret thing, just playing ball.
Yeah. Well, I think most military bases too, you'll
find stuff like
ball
that.
Fields and recreational things. Yeah. Yeah, it makes sense. The thing, one thing I've noticed is a lot of people, you brought up Roswell, a lot of people kind of confuse or conflate the two together, Roswell and Area 51.
And they're different.
They're different. Different stories. They're somewhat related because of the speculation of alien craft. But Roswell is in New Mexico and Area 51 is near
Nevada.
Rachel, Nevada.
Yeah.
And there's some stories that something that was found at Roswell might have made its way to Area 51 or in a research facility there or something like that, which is possible. But everything I've heard in the Roswell story, debris and that sort of thing. I've even heard alien bodies were sent to, I believe, Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, which is across the country. But yeah. They're kind of related in topic, but not necessarily related in the whole story.
Well, Roswell, when we were there, we learned that the UFO crash really isn't in Roswell.
Right.
It's just the nearest town, so that's what kind of named it, but it's on private property. Mm-hmm. Yes, I did try to locate it to see if we can go.
Yeah.
But everything we read, it is on private property, and they didn't really like people coming out.
Yeah.
To mess with it, so we didn't. I didn't want to spend a lot of our vacation driving in the middle of the damn desert trying to find this location in New Mexico. But I don't know, Area 51, I think looking it up, researching it, being there, I don't think it's much alien related as we want to think. I think it's just more of a top secret Air Force base, testing site for bombs, stuff like that. I think they're building and testing new aircraft out there.
Yeah.
After going out there and then talking to some of the people in the shops, you got two different people in these shops. The tourists. The ones are like, oh, we overheard some lady talking about she was there, and I just want to get back to Vegas where it's normal, and kind of hyping things up. And it's kind of like the paranormal with us. You got the people that's like, that's not.
Yeah.
Debunk that, to where people hear noise like, oh my God, that's a ghost.
Yeah. People typically seem to be all in if they're in.
I do believe that there's life forms out there. We're not as big as the universe is, as big as this space is. We're not the only ones. I do believe we're on the dumber end of it. I saw this meme not long ago that it says, I bet UFOs fly by Earth and lock their doors. It's like we're the dumb human beings. Roswell, it could be.
Yeah.
It could be.
Yeah.
The Area 51 could be. But I do believe there's not very much alien stuff.
Yeah. Well, the interesting thing...
And if there was, I don't think there is now.
Yeah. The interesting thing about Area 51 is it kind of came to the public eye in the 80s, the mid to late 80s, when Bob Lazar came forward.
Mm-hmm.
And what had happened was George Knapp, who's an investigative journalist in Vegas and has been for ages, he worked mostly on stories about the mob and their activity in Vegas. And John Lear, he was a decorated pilot and the son of the guy who invented the Learjet and the 8-track.
Nice.
He had come by the news office, and basically he was trying to talk to somebody about Area 51. No one had really heard of it or considered it. And then basically he was on his way out, and he just kind of dumped a bunch of stuff on George Knapp's desk and said, you need to look at this, because no one was listening to it. And George Knapp started interviewing him, and they started broadcasting the interviews. And then he said, I have a friend who works out there. And so it was like pulling teeth. They finally got Bob Lazar to agree to an interview, but he used a fake name, and they did the pixelated thing where you couldn't see him, and they met him at a certain location and to where he felt comfortable. And he actually, ironically, he used the name Dennis, which was the name of his supervisor out there, because he was kind of trying to get the guy in trouble and throw people off, because if he knew somebody saw that interview, they'd be wondering who he was. And so he said his name was Dennis.
That's funny.
Yeah. There's a lot to that story, and there's a lot that I'm just recalling from memory. But basically, he broke the story. That's him coming forward and saying, I worked at and he didn't specifically say, it's Area 51. He named S4, which was the area where he was doing his research, and it was a part, like a subset of Area 51, but it's part of that whole complex.
Right.
But he worked at S4, and so that just blew the lid off of it. Basically, that's when we learned about this secret government facility where they test aircraft and weapons and that sort of thing.
So how did it become UFOs?
Well, that was part of his story as well, Bob Lazar.
Did he say that he witnessed something out there? Or?
Yeah. In fact, and there's a lot of interesting kind of side facets to this whole thing that you have to look at here and there. But his story was he was hired to work at S4 to help them basically backwards engineer a craft that they had. And he claimed that, see, his background was in physics and chemistry, and he had built, he had taken his car and put a jet engine, a rocket engine in it, and was driving it around town. And you know, there's a lot about his background and credentials that can't be verified or that have been disputed, and like some of the same things that have been verified, there are people disputing them still. So it's some of that could be.
But I feel
cover
that's
up.
with everybody.
Yeah.
Because no matter what we say, somebody's going to dispute something.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, and some of it could be cover up, like some of his records have been erased, which is very possible.
Mm-hmm.
But
Oh, if the government wants to silence you, they're going to.
and that's the thing. He came forward, he revealed it, he told his story about what he was working on. So there's a lot of people saying, okay, well, why? Why is this much information getting out? And it's like the whole disclosure thing going on now. People are given just enough information to keep them interested in
Mm-hmm.
it. And if they're
Mm-hmm.
interested in the show going on in this hand, they don't necessarily see what's happening with this hand. So there's a reason why we know as much as we know. But according to his story, he had a knowledge of physics, and he had built this rocket car, so he knew propulsion, and so they took an interest in him because he got put on the front page of the paper where he was for this rocket car. So and supposedly I forget the guy's name off the top of my head. I heard it earlier and I totally forgot it, but it was a guy who had worked on part of the I want to say part of the atomic bomb program.
Okay.
And he was speaking at a school out there where Bob Lazar was, and the guy happened to be reading the article of Bob putting the rocket in his car, and so he said, there'll never be a better opportunity to meet this guy. So he said, hey, that's me, and they started talking. So that may have gotten him in as well to a degree, if that guy knew people. But anyway, he claims his first day out, he went to the airport, to Janet Airlines, flew out there and was bussed in, and they took him. The first day he said it was paperwork and it was dull, and that's all it was. But his first really impressive encounter out there was they took him to a hangar, and there was a craft in the hangar, and they just, I think they just kind of let him see it, see how he would react. You know, he was under the impression that it was ours, and that all these UFO sightings that had been going on since the 40s and 50s were ours, our craft, that people were saying, but there was an alien story to kind of, take away the attention to us. He was assigned to a lab or a room with one partner, and he said it was very compartmentalized. They weren't allowed to talk to other researchers. No one was allowed to talk to them. They had to give their findings to one person, and so they couldn't exchange information or use information that other people had gathered. They were just blind, working on what they knew and what they had learned. And he said basically from what he learned over time was that those were not our crafts. There were probably 4 or 5 different ones. They had been recovered from crash sites. 1 or 2 of them had come from archaeological digs, he said.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so that implies that they've been here a long time. But basically he said from what he learned, they were not ours, and he was there to try and help backwards engineer their propulsion system. And he said they used a gravity-based system, and he likened it to if you have a bed mattress and you put a bowling ball on it, you know how it dips down, and if you roll the bowling ball forward, it continues to dip down. Well, if you affect gravity in that way, to where gravity dips down, then your craft will tip forward and move.
Okay.
So, and that's a real basic, my very basic limited understanding of what he was talking about. But it's gravity propulsion, where you manipulate gravity to where the craft you're in basically tips and moves. And it's kind of an interesting way to describe it. And he was describing it this way in the 80s. But when you see the recent leaked footage of craft, a lot of times you'll see them tipped and going at an angle like that. So it's possible, I guess. But yeah, that was his story, and him coming forward is what got people saying Area 51 this, Area 51 that. And for a good, probably 15 years, people kept denying its existence and speculating and all these conspiracy theories. And then while Clinton was president, there were lawsuits brought against Area 51. Families of people who had worked there, the people that had worked there were these particular people, and I don't know what section they worked at, but they were charged with their task, their job was to destroy chemicals, potentially used in chemical weapon research, but they had to burn and destroy these chemicals out there that had been kept on site, and they were getting very sick from it, and so their families filed a lawsuit, and Bill Clinton even addressed publicly about Area 51 and about different programs like that. So there was confirmation, this place exists finally.
Bill Clinton, when he's sitting there say, you got this going on here and the other
yeah.
It's like Bill Clinton, that's why he came up to Area 51. He didn't want that
could be
that Monica stuff to come out.
Yeah, it was all distraction.
Or the murders. I won't go into that. I'm just joking, Bill.
Well, you have to consider a handful of things when it comes to stories about places like this. One, look at the early 1900s. Okay, I mean we were just getting into really developing aircraft and starting airplanes and air travel, and look at how far technology has advanced since then.
Right.
Just 130 years. It's been advancing exponentially, and for the longest time, I've heard whatever technology we have available to the public, the government and the military in particular is probably a good 10 to 15 years beyond that at least.
Right.
I mean, we got the internet from the military, and we everything we've got, the military had first, and they had it a lot earlier. So if there's something that's being leaked, the military is so compartmentalized that no one knows who's doing what or what's going on where or how information's being used. If there's information out there, there's a good chance somebody wanted it out there and allowed it to get out there.
Right.
And that's been one of the criticisms of the Bob Lazar story as well, is a big player in that whole story was John Lear. And John Lear flew missions for the CIA. He was on the CIA payroll for the longest time, and he's been involved in some stuff. And now here he is saying, "Hey, there's alien craft out here," and it's like, okay, well, how much does he really know, How much is he feeding out, and how much has someone told him to feed out? You never know.
Right.
And he could just be rogue and out of his mind and just wanting to expose some things that he thinks are there, you know. You never know.
I think in the time that we're in right now, everybody, it's not as scary to think that there's aliens out there.
Yeah.
You know, I remember growing up as a kid and thinking about it or talking about it, it's like, oh, that's scary.
Yeah.
You know, but with all the stuff that's happening in the world and how the government has released this or that of it, if I saw a UFO, an actual spacecraft, I don't think it'd be that shocking.
Yeah.
For me, anyways, anymore.
Yeah.
You remember when they were going to, 2019, they were going to storm Area 51?
Yes.
Oh, man, I had such high hopes for that. My God, I had a...
Yeah, which it actually turned out to be a cool kind of party out in the desert.
yeah, that's...
But, you know, a lot of people went out there for that.
I remember people saying they can't kill us all. And yeah, they kind of really can, but
yeah.
Go.
Yeah.
Let's
Let's see what happens.
See what happens.
I don't want to go.
I don't. Yeah, I wasn't gonna go out there, but
I would love to. I mean, especially if they are, you know, backward engineering craft, or even if they're just building our own craft and it looks like those things. I would love to know. It would be fascinating.
We are ready for the truth.
Yeah.
Like it's not the scary thing anymore.
Yeah.
To me.
Yeah.
You know, remember earlier this year, all the drones around New Jersey and
Yeah.
that people, it was all over social media, but there wasn't the freak out like it would have been, you know,
Yeah.
even 5 years ago.
Yeah.
It's like, we're ready. Tell us, government, tell us.
Yeah.
Give tours. It'd be bigger than Graceland.
Yeah.
Give tours of that place. You'd make the government get all their money back. But no, it was cool as hell being out there. It was an adventure. I'll probably never go out there again.
Yeah.
It's not a place where
Yeah.
you want to revisit.
Yeah. Yeah, I would love to go just once to see it.
You got to go once
Yeah.
to see it in person, because to see in person, it's a different experience. On this, in the description, if I can find it, you know, at the end of this video, I'll put my footage, which is only a few minutes of footage. But the Grim Life Collective is a YouTube channel. Michael and Jessica, they actually went there. That's how I discovered their channels. They went to Area 51.
Yeah.
And if I can figure out, I'm a new guy on YouTube, so if I can figure out how to put a link to their video, they actually do a lot more filming and a lot more clearer picture than what I'm gonna be able to do. They, like I said, they went. They didn't care. They filmed their thing. I didn't want to.
Yeah.
I chose to stay on the right side of the law, which is very rare.
Yeah.
It's very rare, but I'm not going to mess with the government.
Yeah.
But yeah, Michael and Jessica, they went there and did a good video on it, and the drive there, and even seeing their video versus being there in person, it's still a different experience.
Yeah.
If you're ever interested in going, I highly recommend just go. Fly into Vegas, gamble, drink, do whatever you want to do, but make that altogether. It's probably about a 6-hour round trip.
Yeah.
Between the drive and the stops and the talking and stuff. It's probably about it's a day trip. It's a day trip.
Yeah.
And I will add, and this is April of 2025, so I don't know if it changes, but there's a gas station in the middle of nowhere that's cheaper gas than what you can find in the city of Las Vegas.
Yeah. Which
surprised me, because we did fill up before we left, and then when we passed by that gas station, it's like, hell, I'm gonna top it off on the way back, because it seemed like 15 cents cheaper than any place we found in Vegas, so that was a plus.
Nice.
Real quick, and we'll wrap this video up, since we're talking about alien stuff. Leaving California, going to Vegas, and I don't know what town it is off my head. It's on Interstate 15, where they have the world's largest thermometer.
Okay.
They have
Is this a rectal thermometer?
Oh, geez, I hope not.
Okay.
Listen.
I don't want to go there.
If you can fit that in your keister, you're an issue. Because it's like 100 foot tall or something like that. Several feet tall. Anyways, they have what they call a jerky place, Alien Jerky, beef jerky.
Okay.
And I have a video of it, which I don't know if I'll include it on this one because I don't want to make this too damn long. But they're building a big UFO that's going to be a hotel.
Oh, cool.
So I'm like super excited. That gift shop was a hell of a lot better than any gift shop on the extraterrestrial highway that we stopped at. But I may put a clip of the UFO that they're building for a hotel. It's huge.
I'd like to see that. That's cool.
It's pretty awesome.
Neat.
So, but that was a little snippet of our vacation. It's something that we've talked about several times, and I actually got to go there. And Jessica and I will touch more up on some of our vacation throughout time. There was a lot happening on vacation. We there's a week's vacation turned into almost 2 weeks because of medical. It turned out to be quite the adventure, but we're back home. Everybody's good. Jessica's starting to improve a little bit. So there you have it. I'm gonna roll the little bit of, I don't know, 2 or 3 minutes total maybe of the footage at the end of this. And if you have any questions or comments, give us comments. I love reading them. We're starting to get a few more here and there as the channel takes off.
And we still haven't just chosen a topic and hit it in depth. So if there's something that someone wants us to do some research on and cover, let us know in the comments.
Absolutely.
We'll do it.
And if you happen to run across any of the sticker QR codes that I've sprinkled throughout the Midwest, please comment. I would love to hear that you found one.
Comment, post a picture.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Scan it, join us.
So until next week, guys, you guys have a great week. Be positive. Don't let negative stuff ruin your day or your time. And we'll see you then.
See ya.
Later. Sign says, welcome to Rachel. We're really close. You can't see that town, I don't think, through there, but it's down there, and we are in the middle of nowhere. I mean, we are nowhere. No cell phone reception. We pick up one AM radio station, and all he's doing is ranting about the government. Yep. We're gonna add our sticker here. Almost there, guys.
There's no recording in here.
Oh. We are told from this place in Rachel that it's only another 10 miles away. Getting closer, getting closer. We think we're approaching the gate of Area 51. Let me tell you, it is in the middle of nowhere. We haven't had cell phone reception in over 2 hours. The only station we can pick up is an AM station about some guy ranting about politics and stuff. Yep, this is it. This is Area 51, guys. There's been a Jeep following behind us. Hopefully they're here to do the same thing and we're not in trouble for doing something stupid. Holy shit. We fucking made it, guys. Area 51.
$1,000 fine.
$1,000 for fine for what?
$1,000 fine, 6 months imprisonment.
Oh, for trespassing, yeah.
Yeah.
I also heard that they have the authority to shoot you too.
Oh, damn. Yeah, I bet they do.
And I've also heard that they have the authority to put you in prison for however many years they want.
That's crazy.
Some people supposedly have disappeared.
That's crazy.
When they try to cross the fence.
Yep, I won't be trying. Not today.
It's crazy.
Have you been here before?
Nope.
Nope.
Just seen it on TV.
That's what we're on road trip, so we decided it's like, why not?
Yep, that's what I'm doing here too.
Why not?
On my way down to Arizona
Nice.
from Alaska.
Oh, damn. You come a long way. We're just from Arkansas, so we're about 20 hours away.
Yeah, and, I had a motorcycle last year and I came down here, but I wasn't sure about this dirt road with the bike because it's a street bike, and I didn't want to.
Oh, that's one of those
Yep.
camo dudes. Yeah.
Didn't want to take a chance of dropping the motorcycle, so I
Don't
come down the road.
don't blame you there.
But now that I got the Jeep, different story. You guys have a nice day.
You too. Come here, son. Let's get one more selfie.
There's no cool rocks over here.
Come on.
Look at the floor. Maybe there's some cool rocks.
Yeah, that's a camo dude.
Yeah, that is. He's probably watching us. People do it too much though. And if you think about it, that's just the entrance. Like it probably goes way back more before you start seeing stuff.
Oh, it goes over those mountains.
Is that a rock?